everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today is day 4 of my 15 days of beauty. This is when I'm going to be uploading a video every single day for 15 days straight for the month of December. I'm so excited. I'm going to be sharing a lot of my favorites for the year, some of my least favorites. I've got a couple of other videos that I have planned. It's just going to be a fun 15 days. Now, I've already uploaded day 1, day 2, and day 3, so I will leave the playlist down in the description box down below so you guys can check it out. But today's video is going to be all about eyeshadow palettes. There were a lot of eyeshadow palettes launched in the year of 2022, and I decided to dial it down and share my top 10 favorites for the year. I could go on and on because there were so many. So I thought maybe I'll just dial it down and share my top 10 favorites. So that's what we're going to do. Now, a few of them were not launched in the year of 2022, but they were palettes that I have consistently used. So I want to include them in this video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the list. So I don't think I'm going to rank them. I'm just going to pick them up and grab them and start chatting about them. So the first thing that I have here is this little Precious love of mine. I absolutely love this palette. This was a part of the Chanel Tweed collection. Very, very expensive. It was very pricey, but I don't regret buying it because not only do I absolutely love the packaging. I mean, this packaging is so cute with the tweed on the outside and then it has the little Chanel logo on the inside. From the day I got it, I have consistently used it over and over and over. I love these tones. I love the way they look. They're so soft and pretty on the eye. I just love this pink. The pink shade's probably my favorite, to be honest with you. They're not super intense. They're not overly shimmery, right? So they're not going to pack a punch. But I think that's what I love about them, is that they are very easy on the eye and very easy everyday wear. I love the way my eyes look when I wear this palette. So this one is number 4. I ended up getting a backup because I destroyed this palette from swatching it and I loved it so much and I loved the little tweed embossing. So I ordered me a backup. It's sitting back here in my collection and I don't regret it. I don't regret a thing. And that's kind of the thing when it comes to splurging on luxury makeup. If you kind of know what you're getting when you buy it and you know that it's going to just be really expensive, but there's things that you're going to really enjoy about it, I don't mind spending the money on it. And that's kind of where this is. I really love it. I love the tones. I always love my eyeshadow look when I create it, but I felt that it was luxury. I loved the embossing. I loved the packaging, like everything, right? It just kind of checked all the boxes for me. I don't think everybody loved these palettes, but for me, I loved the number 4 tweed. It is just a gorgeous cool tone palette. And yeah, I just love it. Oh, I love that palette. Next up, we're going to talk about the Smoky Quartz from Tom Ford. So this is the cream. This was one of the first cream quads that was launched from Tom Ford. And I have used this so many times. I don't know when I'm going to hit pan, but I typically use this shade the most. This is one of those palettes that I reach for when I need something really fast in the crease. Puts a little bit on the lid, put some on the lower lash line, and I'm good. It's a very dependable quad for me, and I really love this formula. I do. I love this formula. And out of all of the cream quads that have been launched from Tom Ford this year, this one is my favorite and the one I've used the most. So I have to mention it because I've used it so many times since I got it. I took it on vacation with me. I used it the whole time I was on vacation. It's just one of those quick, easy eyeshadow products for me. And I don't regret a thing. I love that quad. Next up, again, same thing from Tom Ford. This is the Metal Lust. The more I use it, the more I love it because I love these shimmer shades. They have not gotten hard panned on me. I've used them so many times. And yes, they're a little flaky. So that's the one thing that I have to be careful when I use this is that I can sometimes get a little bit of fallout when I use these shimmer shades, but I don't mind because I really love this quad. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of the times I don't really like these types of quads from Tom Ford. My favorite formula from Tom Ford is the wet dry formula with the TF embossing. But oftentimes when I see quads like this where you have the shimmer mixed in with some of the mattes, they don't always work the best and they get hard panned and they're just not good. But this is gorgeous. And they kind of have that soft pearlescent, tiny micro glitter type of pigments in it where it doesn't exaggerate. It looks really beautiful and soft. I can get a little bit of fallout, so I just kind of be mindful of that, but I've used this quad so many times this year. All of the palettes that I'm talking about, they're kind of that top shelf, like first drawer type of product where they're what I grab over some of the others. So I love the Metal Lust, and there you go. Let's talk about this gorgeous palette from ABH. I love this palette. This is probably one of my absolute favorite palettes from Anastasia Beverly Hills. It's so easy and the looks are always so stunning. And I love olive greens, so this palette was kind of right up my alley. I think you need to love olive tones to get use out of this palette. I love the packaging. I love everything about this palette. The textures in here are super easy to blend. No fuss. Like, you don't have to worry about any harsh lines with the mattes. They blend out so easily. These shimmer tones are gorgeous. It's one of my favorite Anastasia palettes. And this rose gold is just... oh, it's so pretty. I love this rose gold because it's kind of a peachy rose gold, and I love peach. Look how gorgeous that is. I mean, come on. That shade is so stunning. I mean, look at these. Look at those gorgeous tones. Oh, I love this palette. I could swatch this palette for days. Like, I could sit here and just swatch this palette. I love the tones in this. They brought it with this palette. They brought it and they did a phenomenal job. These textures are fantastic. The mattes are buttery and blendable. I mean, just such a good palette. Oh, love it. I would say that's probably one of my top 3 favorite palettes for this year. It's beautiful. So this was not launched in 2022, but they restocked it and I was able to pick it up. So this is from Nars. This is a Climax palette. Mel was the one that first told me, if it comes back into stock, Tara, you gotta get it. You gotta get it. It's so gorgeous. I kept my eye out and it never came back. And then finally they restocked it. I don't know. I want to say maybe in like the early summertime, something like that. Holy smokes, do I love this palette. Mel was right. I mean, she was always right. She had such a good eye for palettes. But these tones, oh my gosh. I'm one that loves the Skin Deep palette. Skin Deep palette, in my opinion, is still one of the best palettes that Nars has ever done. I still love that palette. I still use it. And when I got this, it is incredible how easy these mattes are and just how daggum beautiful. The mattes are incredible. The shimmers are incredible. And I have continued to use it and play with it. Just a phenomenal palette from Nars. And I am so glad I was able to pick it up. Skin Deep is still my favorite, and that is my second favorite. It's so good. Next up is a launch from one of my dearest friends here on YouTube, and it's Theresa's Dead. She collaborated twice with Lethal Cosmetics. So this was the first one. This one is Lethal is Dead. This peachy was like made for me. I swear. The periwinkle and the peach. I mean, that periwinkle and the peach. Girl, it was like we had a conversation or something about it. Look at those periwinkle and peachy shades. Oh, I love it. And even though I'm not super colorful, there has been a few times when I was using the pastel palette from Natasha Denona. I used this and I used this shade, and I also grabbed a few shades from the pastel palette, and it was like a gorgeous green kind of yellow eye look. It was stunning. And recently she launched Theresa is Lethal. And this one, oh my gosh, this one has the most beautiful silver I have ever seen in a palette. Now, Lethal Cosmetics is an indie brand, and their formula is fantastic. Look at that. And this blue, oh my gosh. look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at the silver though. Hold on. That silver, I don't have any silver like it in my collection. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Look at that gorgeous pink color. But what's interesting about this pink color is that it's orange. So it's kind of a duochrome. It has that shift to it. That silver, oh my gosh. Theresa and Lethal Cosmetics, you guys nailed it. Now, again, this is a little bit colorful for me. So for me, I don't use all of these tones together. I pull from this palette. And I cannot wait to create a holiday look with this silver shade. I mean, just gorgeous, right? That silver is the most, come on, it is beautiful. Ah, it's pretty. So she also launched some blushes with it and highlighters, which I put it in this palette, which takes me to my next product. And I'm going to include this, even though I haven't done a video on it, but I'm including it because I loved the sentiment behind it. And I love that Sydney Grace honored Mel in this way. And it's a beautiful thing. And we all know that Sydney Grace has such a phenomenal eyeshadow formula that I don't need to review it and like use every shade to know that they're great. This is Mel's version. I got this palette from Amazon, by the way. It's just a magnetic palette. I loved the marble. I'm into marble. Anyway, this is Mel's version of the retro, and I think it's fantastic. I went through and laid it out exactly how she had it pictured, and it's perfection. But then over here are the two. Theresa actually has two more. Let me grab those. I haven't actually used these yet. So this was launched in the previous collection. This is like a green press highlighter, which I don't really wear green all that much. And then this is a face powder. It's like a beautiful purple blush. I have not used these yet, but I have used this blush right here. So I just included it in here. I just love it. Oh, it's so pretty. I can get so heavy-handed with that, right? So pigmented. Holy smokes. And the way that they put a little bit of shimmer through it, just stunning, because it's not too shimmery where it looks bad on the skin. And I've used this. So this was a highlighter that came in the set, and I'll just show you really fast. So normally what I do is I just put my brush down into that highlighter, right? Like that, tap off. And then I place it like right here to add that intensity to the center of my lid, and it is so pretty right here. Boom. Oh, look at that. So pretty, right? That is what I'm using that shade for. I won't wear it as a highlighter because it's a little bit strong for me, but if you love a strong highlight, oh, it's so pretty. I love that I have Mel's palette right here, and then I have Theresa's two products right here, and I just love it. But anyway, Mel did such a good job. It just goes to show you how talented Mel really was and the level of her passion for all things beauty. And for her to be able to take all those singles and put them together in this way, she was so incredibly talented. And I love that Sydney Grace honored her in that way. And I am so honored to have it in my personal collection. So I definitely wanted to include it in this video because, you know, I never want us to, it's been over a year now since Mel passed, and I never want us to forget her. She was such an important part of this community and such an important part of my life. I want us to always remember her. And so I love that Sydney Grace did this in this way. And yeah, I had to include it in this video because it is just a beautiful, beautiful collection. Next up, we have the Natasha Denona My Dream palette. And I love this palette for multiple reasons. Number one, I love the depth of this palette. It has so much depth. The way that she put these tones together, I didn't really have this color story in my collection. I had it from multiple palettes, right? Like combining them, but not all in one. And I think she did a phenomenal job with this. And I absolutely love this beautiful purple up here. And I love the shade Serenity and Spontaneous. These are just such gorgeous shades. Oh, they're so pretty. Oh, they're so pretty. I love that it has a lot of depth and it works for such a wide variety of complexions. And I think she just done a great job. This was a surprise, but a very pleasant surprise. But for me, this is the best that she created in the year of 2022. I know she launched a lot of palettes, but for me, this was my personal favorite out of all of the ones that she launched. Next up, we have this one from Huda Beauty. You guys, again, this one is very similar, I will say, to the Dream palette. So when I swatched them side by side, there were a lot of similarities. But one thing that I love about this palette is the cream textures in here. These cream shades right here are so easy to apply. I was really surprised by them. I'll grab that palette just to grab those two shades and like pop them here on my outer corner to kind of give me some depth because they're such a good tone. So this black has that really good base. It's got like that gray base. It doesn't have a blue base. I'm not big on blacks that have blue bases, just not my favorite. And then this gray right here, same thing. It works so beautifully because it's the right tone and it goes so well with so many multiple palettes that I have. I will grab this palette for those cream shadows, especially to like build up here on the outer corner on the both upper and lower. But besides that, these shimmers are freaking fantastic. I seriously feel like Huda Beauty is getting better and better. Every palette keeps getting better and better. The formula, I mean, these mattes are some of the best mattes. Even though I didn't feel that we needed these 4 shades, like this one, this one, this one, and this one, they're a little bit redundant. They're kind of the same, just a little different tone. But overall, the shimmers in here and having those cream shadows and these buttery mattes, she nailed it. The last and final palette I want to talk about is this one from Surratt Beauty. And this is pretty much in every yearly favorites video because it is truly one of my favorite palettes of all time. I love the Beyond Beige palette. I love this palette. I do. I was first introduced to this through Mel. I mean, I've almost hit pan on this shade right here, but I was introduced to this palette from Mel. She was like, Tara, these textures are so special. And they are. They're a very special kind of silky texture. And there's just something so simple. I don't leave home without this palette. So anywhere I go, even if it's for a weekend trip, this is the palette that I always take because I know that it's always going to be super dependable. And I spent good money on it because it's not a cheap palette. This is one of my absolute favorite palettes of all time. The silky textures and just how simple they are. And I can always depend on this palette. I take it everywhere with me. It's one of those easy, quick, gorgeous palettes. And the way that this shade blends in the crease, oh, it's so soft on the eye. If you're someone that struggles wearing eyeshadow, like really strong, super glittery, shimmery eyeshadows, that's who I would definitely recommend this palette for because it's so soft on the eye that it does not exaggerate wrinkles or textures or anything like that in the eyelid. It's just one of those stunning, soft palettes. Kind of similar to the Tweed. It's kind of the same thing. If I lost this palette, I would replace it. I would. And that's the reason why it's in every favorites video because it's just one of those palettes. You know how you have just that one palette that you will always love? That's how the Beyond Beige is for me. I will always love that palette. So that's it, you guys. Those are my top 10 most favorite eyeshadow palettes of 2022. Sound off down below. What has been your absolute favorite palette for the year? Like I always say, you guys have the best recommendations. Seriously, the best. So sound off down below. Let us know what you guys have been playing with the most. I'm so curious to hear. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me in today's video. Don't forget to come back here tomorrow for day 5 of 15 Days of Beauty. I love you guys so much, and I will see you all in tomorrow's video. Love you. Bye.